Season's greetings and welcome to our complimentary webinar, which is brought to you today in partnership with Automation Anywhere, Auscontact's national silver sponsor. And it's entitled Fast Forward Intelligent Automation. The webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes, and during that time, with the help of today's two special guests, Greg and Lee, we hope to leave you with some gold, spark your interest, engage you in the conversation, as well as provide some ideas to take back to your respective businesses. To round off the session, we'll be having a full Q&A at the end of the webinar. I'm Fiona Keogh, CEO of Auscontact and your moderator for today. While we're waiting for everyone to join us, let's use the time to quickly run through some housekeeping. Remember, you don't need to take too many notes to maximise the benefit, because we will be sending you a copy of the recording of the webinar. To interact with us, please use the Q&A button on the control panel. You can ask questions or make comments for Greg, Lee or myself from time to time. Don't forget, we're going to have a full Q&A session at the end of the webinar, but if you're anything like me, I need to write those questions down as we go along, because otherwise I forget to ask them. If you're listening through headphones or speakers or experience any issues with your internet connection, please note that on the control panel you can click the raise hand button and the Auscontact team will rush to your aid, or you can revert to the link in the confirmation email, and there are relevant phone numbers and access codes already available to you there. Not quite the same experience, but at least you can hear us. I know that many of you are familiar with asking questions, but let's try out the Q&A button on the control panel now, just in case you haven't used it before. And the question for today is, which country is likely to open up a travel bubble in March of 2021? Now, they are very close to us, about 3.5 hours in an aeroplane. Oh, Susanna's got it. She knows the answer. Really good mates. Yep. The anonymous attendee. I don't like anonymous people. We want to know who you are. But it looks like everybody that's here, knows the answer, but also knows how to use the Q&A button, which is terrific to see. So, it gives me great pleasure to welcome today's speakers, Greg Van Rensburg, Solutions Director, and Lee Matthews, Solutions Architect, both from Automation Anywhere. But before we hear from Greg and Lee, I have some work for you to do, some more work for you to do. We have a poll to complete. Jess, if you could launch the poll. And the question for today is, how familiar are you with the concept of robotic process automation, or as the acronym goes, RPA? You can only answer once. I haven't heard of it. I'm somewhat familiar, or I'm already using the technology. Now, Greg, what are you expecting to see our attendees say?
Look, I think it's been quite a lot of press and involvement, and a lot of organisations have really dabbed their toes in the water with RPA. So I think we're going to get a lot of somewhat familiars. This is just my experience in the market. And there'll be a few that are using the technology, but maybe not in the way that we're going to show you today.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Well, Jess, if you could close the poll and let's see the results. You must know what people are thinking, Greg. Somewhat familiar. But more interestingly, a nice even split between haven't heard of it and already using the technology. So that augurs well for this session. So it's over to you guys. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Fiona. Look, and really liked your opening Q&A test, because I'm a Kiwi and I'm really looking forward to getting back home to see my family. So good one there. Look, I just wanted to start with a story, and look, your contact centre professionals, and you would have heard this, probably stories like this 1,000 times. I'm a long-time customer of said insurance company. I won't name them, but I had a problem once with my car not so long ago, and took it into the mechanic, and said, "Oh no, there's something wrong with the fuel. I think you might have put the wrong fuel." And of course, start blaming my wife and digging myself a hole and getting myself into trouble. And but it turns out it was actually water in the petrol from the petrol station. So it was actually the petrol station's fault. So I'm still digging myself out of that hole as we speak. But really, obviously I needed to put an insurance claim to cover the costs of the big expense of cleaning out the engine to fix out the damage that the water did. And of course, I called in. To put my claim in. And they didn't know who I was. My policy was in some old policy system that because I've been through a couple of acquisitions. The insurance company that I had was joined with another one. And anyway, it was a long process to get the claim in, and then they wanted me to do a lot of the homework around investigating the petrol station, which I refused to do. And anyway, there was a number of calls, a number of lost records, a number of delays on phone where clearly they were navigating between different systems at their back end, and it was not a great experience. And I'm still with the insurance company today, but I certainly haven't been in a rush to expand my membership with them. And I actually put a formal complaint in, and they got good on them. They did resolve my complaint and gave me $100. And just like in 1988, they sent me a check, which was kind of an interesting response. But I was happy that they did acknowledge the pain that I went through. And look, you would have heard these stories before and maybe seen them in your organisation and around the market. But a lot of organisations are fixing this problem, and they're fixing that with digital transformation. You want to move forward, Lee? And they're doing that by putting new, modern contact centre customer engagement platforms in with the likes of Zendesk and Salesforce and click through, and there was also transformation happening at the back end. Some of the core systems like policy systems and ERP systems and new modern cloud-based systems that are the panacea for transforming organisations. And then thirdly, the office productivity suites are being upgraded and put to the cloud, and all promises of glory. But what we do see is that still these problems remain. These transformations still can occur in departments or systems or front of house contact center transformations that leave the back office behind. And we still see people as being the glue. If you click through, Lee, that these people can really stitch these systems together. So what we're doing in automation is really either with legacy systems or with these new modern digital transformation platforms, still provide that glue to stop people keying information between these systems, to stop that delay of I'm going to go and look for information in this system, please wait, and to prevent that frustration. And we really believe that the concept of digital workers and automation can really assist that. Lee, if you can move forward. And we at Automation Anywhere really believe it's that combination of that human touch and the digital workers working side by side where amazing things really happen. We all know that people are best dealing with people. They can empathise, they can engage at a completely different level. We can really get those, identify those opportunities, make decisions much clearer. But for those mundane things, automate, entering information into multiple systems. We believe that digital workers are best placed to do that, to free up the people's time to spend engaging with customers, cross-selling, upselling, solving problems, empathizing with them. But these digital workers, they don't make mistakes. They if trained correctly, they eliminate the errors, and they also don't take holidays, and they can work 24/7. So they can really support those peak times and take the pain away from the people that are really want to focus on better things than swivel chairing, cutting and pasting information between systems. So Automation Anywhere provide those automations. Now, my son very rarely goes to the Google search box on his browser. He just goes and asks, whether it's on the TV or whether it's on his Mac that he uses for school, or whether it's on his phone. He just asks a question. Go and do this for me. Go and get me this information. So that automation, we really believe it would be great for every worker to have that digital assistant at work, where you can go and say, you know what, I don't want to cut and paste this information between these three systems. I don't want to go and look up this information and wait. Go and do it for me. And that's what we're providing here at Automation Anywhere with what we call AARI, or the Automation Anywhere Robotic Interface, which is really your digital assistant for your agents. And that really allows us to automate tasks that could be very simple, such as looking up information, or they could be more complex, long-lived tasks where you need to update 3 different systems in a particular order to get an outcome for a transaction. We really want to connect those people and applications across the enterprise from anywhere. Now, that's a bit of a summary of what Automation Anywhere Robotic Interface is, but we really want to see it in action. So shortly, Lee will take you through a demonstration so you can really conceptualize this concept of a digital worker and assisting you. Suncorp is one of our customers. We've got a lot of customers in Australia leveraging digital workers. I just put this sort of more relevant in these times case study up there. It's actually an article on itnews.com if you want to, .com.au if you want to go and have a look and just search for Suncorp. You'll see a couple of different articles about how they've used Automation Anywhere to provide a digital workforce to support their processes. They had a lot of their services delivered offshore. And interestingly, they actually, those offshore workers couldn't work. They couldn't get into the office to do their job. All these processes for customers were being banked up and not being delivered. They actually got all parts of their organisation to contribute and aid that. But they also, in a couple of weeks, took some of those high volume tasks and trained their digital workers to take care of them. And that really helped them deal with that load that was shifted to Australia. So now I want to hand over to Lee, who will take us through the demonstration and bring it to life for you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Greg. So I'm going to demonstrate a scenario that shows many of the benefits you can achieve by using AARI within a call center scenario. Most organizations use multiple systems, and this complicates things for call center staff. They need to learn how to navigate these different systems, which often have very different interfaces. They need to keep multiple systems open on their desktop and know for certain types of calls which systems to go to. And they often need to enter data or variations of the same data into multiple systems. And that's this scenario here. So in this scenario, the organization uses 3 different systems. When, say, a customer address change comes in, they need to search for the customer in their primary system, which is Salesforce, a customer relationship management system. Once they've confirmed the identity of the customer, they then need to update Salesforce. They then have to switch across to another system and update their online billing system, in this case, Invoicely. And because customers are also in their ERP, they need to open up SAP and update things there. Finally, they send out an email confirmation to let the customer know that their address has been changed as a security measure and also as a just a general confirmation. And as you would expect, this is a process that's fraught with input errors and is very time consuming. Now, what we can do with Automation Anywhere, using digital workers, essentially take care of all of the data entry into the respective systems. So if there's complex navigation or messy data entry screens, they're no problem for our digital workers. They do the job more quickly than humans and without errors, as Greg was explaining. Now, the interactions between the human workers and the digital workers in this case are then coordinated using AARI. So I'm going to now take you through the demonstration, and while I demonstrate that, I want you to think about how some of these capabilities could benefit your organization. And if you can update those ideas in the Q&A panel. But these are some of the benefits that we've been told by organizations who are implementing AARI or in the process of implementing AARI. And you will see through the demonstration the accurate and fast entry of data into the multiple systems. That one's quite obvious to see. Another one that's a little less obvious, but really interesting, I found, is an organization who actually used the AARI forms, which are quick, simple, easy to build, to essentially streamline the user interface on top of SAP. And for certain high volume transactions, they're just using these forms, and they found that that has reduced the data entry time from 8 minutes down to 4 minutes. So essentially everything is 50% faster. Another customer we've been talking to, they see the potential for this to reduce the training time involved for their call center agents because they're having a high degree of turnover in their call center. They use complex systems like SAP, which have many different screens, many different tabs to navigate through. And they see this as a mechanism of actually just providing simple, intuitive forms to their users. So that will dramatically reduce the onboarding time for new call center agents. So I'll take you through some of these other examples as we go through the demonstration. Now, let me switch across to my AARI platform. So what you see here, I hope, is the AARI web inbox. Can anyone just confirm that, Greg, are we seeing the AARI inbox on the correct screen here?
It's all shared, mate. Excellent.
And as you can see, it's very much just like a simple inbox kind of layout. So I see here the particular processes that I've kicked off as a historical element, as well as any that are pending and waiting for my input. So in this context, a process is a series of steps involving humans and bots doing various work, such as our process to update addresses across multiple platforms. And to kick off an instance of one of those processes, as an agent, I simply come across here to create request. And I then see the particular processes that I have access to as a call center agent based on my membership of various groups and that sort of thing. So you can tailor what's presented to the user based on their needs. Now, let's assume that a customer called Bennett Consulting has called me up. They want to update their address. And so I come in here and I kick off the address update process. Now, as you might have remembered from that diagram, the first thing is we need to actually find the customer in Salesforce. So I'm going to type in here, Bennett, and kick off that search. So that was a human task, as you can see here on the list on the left-hand side. That's been kicked off by myself, and it's now been handed to a bot. So just as I'm talking to you, the call center agent can continue talking to the customer while on the phone, while the digital worker is taking care of the search process. Now that means they can, there's none of that dead time while they go off and put the customer on hold. There's no tapping away on keyboards. I can continue to interact with the customer, maybe explore some other problems that they might need to resolve, or potentially I can start to look at cross-sell opportunities or upsell opportunities. Now the digital worker's completed its process and has now presented a form back to me. So we're back to another human task at this point in time in the chain. And at this point, I need to confirm the customer's address. What we can do through the AARI forms here is present the relevant information to facilitate that step. Also present some text that might guide the call center agent. So you can start to get more compliance and accuracy with adherence to procedures through the use of these AARI forms here. So let's say I check the details here and I've confirmed with the customer on the line that it's them, and they're telling me they've now moved to 100 Collins Street. As simple as that, I can update through these simple intuitive forms, click on save. And at this point, once again, now we've handed control back to the bot. The bot has gone off to update those various systems. I can now jump back here and kick off a new request, start processing another call, or I can do some other work. Now, let's toggle back to, or toggle across to my Chrome browser, where I'll show you the current details. So here we are in Salesforce. You can see where we had the address details here. So by this time, our bot's actually doing this process logic as I'm talking. So if I refresh this page here, Salesforce should have been automatically updated. It would be already moving on to update those other systems. And we can see there's our update process through to Salesforce. Now, because it's basically completed the process at this point in time, what I've done is actually record what the digital worker is doing, so you can actually see that happening. And we'll take a look at that video now. So let's toggle across to there. So as you can see, a different user desktop here. This is my bot runner. Essentially, these bot runners work in pools. So when I'm sending jobs back and forward to the digital workers, it's going into the pool, and whichever available bot runner takes on the job. That also means that you can share your digital workers across multiple call center agents. So it just simply goes into that pool and is taken on as a job by whoever is available. So let's take a look at what happens when that request to update the addresses comes through. You see our bot essentially kicks off, our bot logic down the bottom. Bang, it already updated Salesforce there, so extremely quickly. It's done that through the Salesforce APIs. We now need to update the Invoicely platform. That's a web-based system. It doesn't have any APIs. That's no trouble for our digital workers. Essentially, it runs here and automates the search through the front end, finding our customer, moving into edit mode, and then quickly updating the details there. And now it's going to move on to SAP. So three quite very different interfaces. One where we've interacted with the platform via the APIs, one where we automated through a web-based front end, and in this case, it's the SAP client application. So there's pretty much no systems that we can't automate. Sometimes they might be a little bit tricky, but we have technology to approach the automation in multiple different ways to ensure that pretty much anything we can automate. And there we go. So it would have sent the confirmation email. If I jump across to my email client here, you'll see I have a history of these here in my email queue. And the confirmation email can be formatted however, in whatever level of detail you want that, with banners and that sort of thing as well. So there's an example of seeing how the integration with Automation Anywhere to drive those processes works through AARI. Let's just come back to our presentation here and quickly recap what we have seen. So you can see how an agent can easily select from a predefined catalog of company processes. AARI then presents the user with prompts in simple, intuitive forms. And essentially that means you can drastically reduce the level of training required for your agents. You avoid time lost navigating through complex application screens. And you also increase compliance with these structured processes and forms. AARI then hands the repetitive, boring work off to your digital workers who complete it quickly and without error. So in addition to making the call center agents happy that they no longer have to do that work, that reduces input errors, and it means they can handle more calls and complete them faster. Your agents can spend the entirety of their time basically talking to the customer, and in addition to being able to complete the calls faster, that is also going to increase customer satisfaction, and it also means you're going to now enable more cross-sell or upsell opportunities. So we saw the process there from the end users. What might be in your minds now is how complex is all of this to set up. So let's actually take a look at how easy we can configure this. So I'm going to jump across now to my Automation Anywhere control room and log in. So notice for AARI for web and the Automation Anywhere control room here, it's 100% web-based. What that means is you can access it anywhere. So everyone pretty much has a browser on their desktop. So anyone can access the platform quickly and easily. We can deploy it in any way that is compliant with your requirements. So you can run it quickly and easily out of our cloud, or set up and install it on premise. And if you don't want to use something like the web-based AARI interface, we can also plug the capabilities into the existing systems that you would be using in your call center. So I'm looking here at the bots and the bot logic that has been built. And these are actually some of the components that we use to build that demonstration that you saw there. So what we have is bot logic, which is essentially just a series of steps and logic that drives the bots or enables the bots to update those systems, as you saw. We have forms which are used for the users. So in fact, here's our confirmation form. If we open this one up here, you can see it's just a matter of dragging and dropping elements from the left-hand side onto there and then defining how to populate those elements. So we can build those forms in whatever format that you require. And then you join together these pieces of bot logic, these human input tasks, in an overall process. And here's the process that was displayed before when you were looking, or that was leveraged before when you saw us actually update those processes. So it kicks off with the search form. That task then goes to a bot. So here's a bot task. And you can see the input to this particular task was our search term, as well as a increment. So as we loop through and perhaps move to the next customer in our search, it counts as we're going through there. And you can then have these decision points. So if we actually found something, we move on and we present the details to the customer. If we didn't, we show a message and they might need to do another call. So these decision points can also be things like escalations. Let's say I'm a call center agent and I'm putting through a request for insurance, and over a certain limit, maybe that insurance needs to be approved by a manager before it can actually be processed. So you can define those things in the processes here. So escalate between different team members. And once again, that's driving greater compliance to your internal policies and procedures. Once we find something there, it then presents our human task, the confirmation of the details there, with some buttons that are defined, and populates the form with the data that came from the bot task here. So you can see it's just a matter of dragging the elements from the left-hand side onto our pane here and then configuring them over on the right. So there's no programming involved, there's no particular complexities or highly technical skills, meaning it's very easy to set up and adapt this to whatever your internal processes are. So if we come back to our presentation here, and let me kick things off in presentation mode once again. So a quick recap of what you saw there. The agents, I'm still on the previous one. Let me just jump forward there. So the RE processes can be easily created to match the current way your organization does things. There's no need for costly process re-engineering or retraining of staff to do it our way. We can make it work your way. Automation Anywhere digital workers can work with virtually any system. And changes to processes can be made quickly and easily with no special technical skills required. So as your business needs change, RE can quickly change with them. And because there's no highly technical skills involved, the ongoing costs to maintain and make changes to the platform are very low. And being web-based, Automation Anywhere can run wherever you need it to run, through our cloud or on premises if that's the particular requirements that you have. So at that point, I'm going to hand back to Greg.
Yeah, so thanks, Lee. I just, before I talk about another case study, just want to say thank you to Lee, and just to let you know, these processes can be kicked off in multiple ways. So when Lee demonstrated, he kicked it off through our user experience, our form. But equally, we can embed ourselves inside existing contact center applications. We can also have triggers come from different systems to kick off a process to automatically start something. Or it could be coming through a document. It could be an invoice or an application form that comes in, and our digital workers actually are able to read information from that, from those documents, and push the information to the right systems automatically. So lots of ways to interact of that human bot collaboration to happen, whether it's directly interfacing and initiating, or it could be a halfway through a process that we're automating where we actually need to get some human input to actually support our processes, where we actually send a task to somebody to say, hey, the bot came up with this, got to this point and was missing this information. Can you give the customer a quick call and get that information so we can continue on? Or we could send a message straight out to the customer to obtain that information. So that process of interacting can be done in many ways. We've got lots of customers in Australia, but I did want to talk to a customer called Bank Columbia. They're probably a similar size bank to our major banks here in Australia. And they have automated a great deal of their front office contact center and branch type processes. They actually have, they started quite small, but within a 2-year period had rolled out 9,000 bots, 9,000 automations across 1,500 processes. Everything from transactions in the branch where people walk up and they're able to have a conversation with a customer while the digital work helps that process, helps the staff member complete that process, right through to cross-selling opportunities in the contact center, right through to back office processes or after call processes that need to happen to support their business. They've had tremendous results, and they're continuing to roll this out to multiple parts of their business, very diverse business. One of the key metrics here you'll see there is a 59% faster response time to their customers. So all you working as contact center staff know how important it is to provide resolutions to the customers quickly, and I think that's a tremendous result. Do you want to click through, Lee? So just to summarise some key takeaways for you. With robotic digital assistants and our Automation Anywhere robotic interface, you can really transform your business. You can really free up time for your staff to spend actually speaking to customers, to do your cross-selling and upselling, to keep them happy, to be empathetic with them, while digital workers are taking that mundane, long time to take tasks such as keying in information to multiple systems, looking up information, all those things that you have to tell your customers. Just please be patient while we go and do this. I'm going to put you on hold for a few minutes. All of those dreaded lines that we all hate telling our customers. Robotic digital assistants can really take that pain away. With Automation Anywhere, we can start really, really small. Most of our customers start with 1 or 2 processes in a pilot situation, prove the benefit out. But certainly with the Automation Anywhere platform, which we've proven in Australia with customers such as Suncorp and ANZ Bank and AMP and lots of different other industries, in public sector, and private sector, we can really start small, but also scale and transform your business using these digital workers. We have a strong momentum across all industries. We've got great local support for our customers. And look, we're happy to field questions. We do a lot of work with customers and helping discover processes and organisations that are really opportunities for digital workers to assist. And we actually have what we call our discovery bot, which is actually a robot that actually goes out into your organisation, watches what you do, records what you do, and there's a nice analyst view that actually helps identify processes in your organisation, in your contact centre that are really right for automation, looks for those repeated tasks, that manual data entry across systems, and highlights those to you as good candidates for a great return on investment and customer experience. From there, we usually get into a quick pilot, really test it out, build the business case with you, and support our customers in any which way to be successful. So that's all from us today. I really thanks to Lee for bringing it to life, and I'll hand it back to Fiona for Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Lee. So a couple of things for me as I was listening. So one of the things that's really cool is we employ the best and the brightest in contact centres to work with our customers. So we don't want to be leveraging them to do mundane tasks. And their job is to build deeper and better relationships and deal with complex issues. You don't want to be changing people's addresses unless there's something wackadoodle about the address. No sick leave from a bot, or typically
they're
no
pretty
sick
healthy.
leave. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. They probably would have done well in COVID, I would imagine. And I know, Lee, you said you don't have to re-engineer your processes. But, I always think when you're putting in automation that it's a great opportunity to start with that blank sheet of paper and forget about all those workarounds that we do in contact centres, because we have goodwill, we have great people, and we're constantly doing workarounds. Let's make it as we would like it to be.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, I love sexiness like that. Why repeat the sins of the father? Or the mother, or any member of the family for that matter. We have to be a bit careful with that, don't we, these days? Right. So some questions are coming in. What are the best practices to get started quickly? And you'll notice that there's a poll that's come up. We're not going to talk to that poll. You guys just need to answer it while we're in the Q&A session. Okay, now who would like to answer that? What practices, what are the best practices to get started quickly?
Yeah, I think I'll take that on. I think it's really, you talk about re-engineering processes, and I'll tell you what and it's great. You do need to look at re-engineering processes as you implement automation. But what you don't want to do is get into this 3-6 month analysis paralysis of your processes before you start. With automation, we can really quickly identify snippets of processes, little pieces, little actions that are real pains. And my advice to start is to start, right? Deliver some value. Get those first automations deployed. That will build your business case. That will sell it itself. It's a reasonably low price thing to get into. It's not something you need to stand up a huge multi-million-dollar budget to transform. It's not rewriting your contact center. Just get started somewhere, and we can help you with that, with our Discovery Bot tool and with our team to actually identify, 5 or 10 processes or process snippets that can really add value to your process within weeks, not within months. Get those started. And that builds the business case, it builds the momentum, and it also builds confidence. Because when you're introducing digital workers for the first time into an organisation, there is a fear of what these are doing. How's my role going to change? All these other things that sort of cloud the implementation. But as you see the pain taken away from the agents, and they see the ease that it's making their life. The whole organisation gets brought into it, and then their buzz starts to build. So my number one advice is just get started with something.
Let's give it a go. Yeah. Okay, so with the best practice piece, is there a common process that people would normally start first, or that you would recommend that they start with first?
Look, I think it varies in organisations and in the industries. But, looking for, it's more the type of process. I think anything that's repeatable and, time consuming, and there's a decent volume of it. If they fit into that category, if it's, structured information that we're receiving from the customer, that it's this reasonably high volume task, and that it's repeatable throughout the organisation, that's a good candidate to start with. Things like address changes, things like processing an invoice, are common things that we come to. Things like just general inquiries that you can hand to the bot to go and look up maybe 1 or 2 different systems. Those sort of things are quite common to start with. Yeah.
And if I could add there, you don't need to look at an entire end-to-end process. So as you can see, AARI is able to automate portions of a process and then hand back to the human workers. So don't look to necessarily automate end-to-end. You can automate parts of a process to get started.
Good call, because then you really do get a sense of what it's going to be like, and where you don't get excited, shall we say, about going too far, because it's very difficult to pull back, but it's easy to add on over time. Yeah, and learn as you go. An iterative process, I guess. might be another way to describe it. So here's where you're going to give your family secrets away. What criteria should be used to evaluate different RPA solutions?
Lee, do you want to have a stab at that one?
Yeah, I think extending on past what you were just talking about there, ease of use, I think, for me is one of the primary things. You don't want to be bringing in a busload of consultants and that sort of thing every time you need to make a small change. And because one of the best ways to get started is to start small and just build on it, you want to be able to very quickly and easily enhance those, the bot logic, add on another particular part of a process. And as you can see there, through Automation Anywhere's platform, we feel we are market leading in terms of ease of use. You don't necessarily need highly technical skills to build these. It's just a drag and drop process of putting together pieces of the puzzle on the main pane there and configuring them over on the right hand side. So I think ease of use is probably one of the main criteria for myself.
Greg, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think obviously, to get started, that's really important. Also having that comprehensive functionality in terms of your longer term evolution. This is an enterprise platform that supports end-to-end transformation. As you see, as I mentioned with Bank Columbia, 9,000 processes, 15,000 processes, 9,000 bots. So you need a proven vendor in the market that can scale and support your organisation, both with different functions such as reading documents, such as interacting through contact centres, through human bot collaboration. So looking at that long tail of requirements that you might have to get to support an enterprise scale deployment as well, depending on your size of your business, but particularly the ease of use is really important to get started and get those quick wins and prove the value.
Yeah, so a case of crawl, walk, run,
yeah.
and learn as you go. I mean, that the numbers that you just quoted again are phenomenal for my small brain in terms of what they're actually achieving, and it makes me think the sky's the limit if you really understand your business well, and of course, engaging with your contact centre staff and not just your tech people is going to be super important, and making it a human based process to determine the approach that you should take. So you just talked about a company that got enormous scale with what they're delivering through RPA. So how do companies successfully achieve scale in RPA automation programs?
Yeah, and I think it is that crawl, walk, run kind of myth, analogy that you gave, Fiona. It's about having a long vision, but proving value as you go along. So it sort of becomes most automation centers of excellence become sort of self-funding, self-promoting entities inside organisations. We look at what ANZ Bank have done, for example. They started in one area of the bank, and it took off. They've got hundreds and hundreds of bots now, but they sort of crawled first in one particular department, deployed about 100 or so bots to support that particular area, and then that funded. That's what we call a centre of excellence or a centre of good department of how to support other deployments inside an organisation, and really help them scale throughout their organisation. So I think, is there anything else you want to add to that, Lee?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of capabilities in the platform that we haven't had a chance to discuss and present within this short time frame. One of those is the ability to track all of the pieces of data that a bot touches. We call that our bot insights capability, and essentially it builds dashboards for each of the particular processes or bots that you set up, including the AARI processes. And you were talking there, Greg, about the ability for an RPA program to be self-funding. Well, to do that, you need to be able to prove the value that you're actually driving. And this is where bot insights can be really powerful, because it'll track the number of times your bots run, how long it has run for, and therefore effectively how much time you're saving the human workers from having to do these boring data entry tasks, as an example. Not only that, it can also track the business data. So if you're, say, processing accounts payable invoices, you're able to track the dollar value of those. And this might also build up a whole insights capability around understanding which of the suppliers you're dealing more with. So you can start to get, essentially a business intelligence capability out of that as well. But certainly in terms of driving that knowledge of the benefits you're providing, that's going to help drive this self-fulfilling program, or this self-funding program, because you can prove the benefits you're actually achieving.
Yeah, Lee, you just shared on how to measure and the dashboards and the sort of data that you can actually get out of the system. I guess the inverse of that is that's after you've implemented and you're running along very nicely. But all of us have this challenge that there's never enough money in an organisation. We never have enough budget. How do I, or what is your experience in how to present the best business case to get approval to go forward with RPA?
So one of the things that through the bot insights you can drive is certainly the focus on past successes. And we have found that most organisations are able to fund a particular RPA project, a particular automation, and have that repay itself within 12 months of actually deploying that. So it's quite on average, quite a fast payback, and therefore profitable form of investment for the organisation. So Greg, is there anything you wanted to
I think it's all about starting small as well. It's not a bit, to get your first bots in, it's not a huge investment. It's not a contact center transformation program. So oftentimes it's done out of operating budgets or some innovation budgets to get those first couple of bots to prove the value. But we also offer what we call process discovery workshops, where we, it's not a 3-month analysis paralysis exercise. It's let's look inside your organisation over a couple of weeks, and actually over a couple of days, and then over a couple of weeks elapsed time, we can come up with a backlog of 30, 50, 100 processes in some cases to help support that business case at a longer term viewed, enough to show enough value to get started on 2 or 3 or 4 of those processes to get started. So we've done that quite successfully in as little as 2 weeks to get a business case supported and up and running for the initial period. And then it does really become more of a self-funding prophecy, if you like. We've done 5 processes and we can see that it's going to pay ourselves off within 6 months or within 12 months. Why should we not start on the next 20 processes or 50 processes? Why should we not now invest in a centre of excellence so that we can support other areas of the business and deploying automation?
Cool. So we have another question, which is kind of two parts, I think. So from the go, what time frame generally is it before you have a laundry list of ideas? That is, what is the average amount of time for ideas to be on the table?
Yeah, I think it's oftentimes after we do an automation awareness session, which is the first part of that discovery, we will be flooded. Part of that exercise is we give some education, a bit more detailed than what we've gone through today. We'll give some education to the audience about what automation can provide, show it, and all this, show use cases and relevant to the industry. And after that, if we've got sort of 5 or 6 different departments on the call, we will end up with 150 processes that have flooded us, depending on the organisation, they've flooded us with ideas. So I don't think that it's the problem of the automation ideas. Once people get a vision of what it can provide, it's picking those right processes, which ones fit the category of repeatable, high enough volume to prove value, and simple enough to train a bot to do. If they meet those 3 categories, then we rank those and we put those to the top of the list. And then once we get into a program, we also do what we call botathons as well with organisations, which is when we get organisations to come together. We give them some training, and then the different business areas go away and build their bots with our support. And that sparks a whole bunch of ideas and a whole bunch more enthusiasm about the automation program as well. So, look, ideas come thick and fast from organisations. It's making sure we pick the right ones to start with, so we get on that success front foot.
Thanks. I'm thinking about design, and the most expensive resource that you have in your business, dare I say it, is your people. Key to your differentiation for yourselves with your competitors. Is one of the measures of success that you've seen used by your customers is improvement of employee satisfaction at all, or reduced attrition rates, or anything like that you can share?
One of our customers here in Australia, their biggest bugbear was that they would hire people into their contact centre and they would be frustrated. The customer contact, the agents would be frustrated. I think they had a 6-month, average attrition rate, which was appalling. And then the main reason when they did the surveys for that was they just hated navigating the 3 or 4 different main systems. They weren't productive until after about 3 months. So if you've got a 6-month attrition rate and they're only productive after 3 months, you're only really getting 3 months of productivity out of them. So, taking away some of that training time and that experience of navigating legacy systems to get a simple task done is a huge benefit that's measured closely on programs that we've done with our customers.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys. And of course, the other aspect, of course, is customer satisfaction. Any thoughts on measuring within the bot or within the bot program on how that's impacted positively or otherwise? I'm sure it would only be positively on the customer satisfaction that you could share.
Yeah, I think the customer satisfaction comes along with the ride, right? If you're not sitting on the call for 5 minutes while they're navigating systems and updating information, then that's a natural. If you're reducing the time that they spent by 30%, then there's going to be that natural improvement. Plus, that the agent is also engaging with the customer. So, lots of good examples there that we've delivered to our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, strangely enough, there's no more questions. So, despite the fact that you feel like you only gave us a helicopter view, I think our audience is feeling like they've learnt a heck of a lot today. I've got a takeaway. I've never heard of botathon. So that's now added into my lexicon, and I thank you for that. I also want to take the opportunity to thank you both, Greg and Lee, for your insights. Lee, for living on the edge, giving us the live demo. Thank you for that. Went swimmingly. And to Automation Anywhere, our national silver sponsor, for your support throughout this absolutely rubbish year. 2021 is going to be so much better for all of us. Any closing remarks from either of you?
Just look, it's a great organisation, Auscontact, and thank you for inviting us and allowing us to share our vision of how digital workers can really take the pain away from people. That's all we're about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And listen, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and into the silly season, as we're only, Santa for many of us is not that far away. Looking forward to some wonderful R&R with our families, and see you safe and healthy and rested and relaxed and ready for 2021 on steroids. See you guys. See you next time.
Thank you.